we'll be having a very short, summarized memorial service for the late Dr. Kalicharan. So I guess I could invite Prof to say a few words.
Yeah, so I guess before we start, we should have a moment of silence, to reflect on Dr. Kalicharan and his work. So we'll just have a 1 minute moment of silence. Some people use it for prayer, some people use it to reflect, etc. Okay, so yeah, we just this is just a little tribute to Dr. Kalicharan, and some of us are going to say a few words about him, but I think it was important to really discuss his contributions, because to put it bluntly, Noel could have done anything he wanted. I mean, he could have gone abroad and been a researcher at a big lab. He could have been a professor abroad. He could have done multiple things. He decided to stay in Trinidad and educate, potentially thousands of computer scientists. And his work resulted in, I'm sure, advances in computer science all over the world. And I don't think people appreciate that, right? That it's easier to just go work for a big company and get the recognition, etc., rather than do what he did. So I personally appreciate people like that, to be honest, and so I just want to make that note. I had interactions with Dr. Kalicharan, not as much as many of you, because I was in the department for a short period of time, and as you well know, I wasn't in the office very often. But the times we did discuss things like the curriculum and mathematics, etc., it was very rewarding conversations. The last discussion we had was on his book, Julia, when he sent me a draft to have a look, and we discussed where it could be used, etc. And I mentioned that Inzamam had introduced it in our OR course, and we were using it for operations research. So again, I have great respect for him, and it's a great loss, not only for UE, but for the country as a whole. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on Dr. Kalicharan. Pass it over to you, Shiva.
Thanks, Prof. So yeah, I guess we all have that same sentiment. He impacted thousands of people, and I guess that his teachings and so on and the rigor he strived for in programming could be, it could live on in the coming generations. So I guess I'll say a few words, and I guess I'll probably hand over the floor to anyone who wants to say a few words as well. So this is just, I guess, the most summarized story I could give, or a background of him from my various experiences with him. So firstly, I would like to give condolences to his family. And so just to start it off a bit, so this is the experience that they would call what they would dub Kali, right? So even before anyone entered UE, a lot of persons entering computer science and so on, they would hear many stories of this man called Dr. Kalicharan, right? Or in short as Kali, right? So typically, the conversations we had, or even the rumors we heard, was that, there were high failure rates in his courses and the exams were ridiculously hard, right? And, at the end of the first year, that's where we kind of transition into the more advanced years. We, the come 2000, come 3000 in our time, the course codes. And, we did, again, the rumor was Kali was leaving this year. So again, everyone thought that, we get away and, we're safe, right? So on that first day of that data structures class, to everyone's surprise, he did not leave. And he had a bit of a hearty smile on his face. And in his hands, he had a stack of papers, right? He distributed it very briskly. And that was the dreaded diagnostic exam. So it was distributed and given. And at the end of that first day, I guess anyone could tell you, you left that exam feeling like a shell of yourself. You didn't know what you was doing. You thought, what did I get myself into? And maybe I should have waited for the next year when you would have left again, right? And so after receiving the marks and, doing the first coursework exam and so on, it seemed very much demoralizing at first, that this man's so difficult and, does it need to be so hard, right? But, after thinking about it and, the rigor he strived for, it was really meant as a wake-up call, right? To get better at problem solving and programming. Because, going to industry and so on, there's no part mark or credit given if your program works partially, right? So again, it's either it works or it doesn't work, right? And that was what he kind of strive for. And if it works, it must be able to work for all test cases and work properly and so on, and so that's efficient. So his approach to teaching was unique. His classes and exams, they were all crafted, thinking back about it, they were all crafted meticulously, right? And again, the most popular assignment mark in his courses was 0, or if you were lucky, 1 if you got some documentation marks, right? And that was out of 10, typically, right? And even when the program actually had 1 error, that was what you were going to get, either 1 or 0. So throughout the semester, after getting to go to classes more and getting to really realize what he was about, right? He went from being this dreaded menacing teacher to this legend in computer science for many of my friends as well, right? And at that time, we were all now very eager to attend his classes. And I could actually easily spend the next few hours giving stories of Dr. Kalicharan. And that would be from discussions about programming back in the days with punch cards to sending my friend Anderson outside class to dispose of his Coke. And fun fact, Anderson did not dispose of his Coke. He tried to gulp it down as fast as he could. And Dr. Kalicharan ended up catching him. So after finishing, the undergrad courses, it was really beneficial. And moving on to the postgrad, we actually had the opportunity of knowing him as both as students and as a part-time staff member. And in this postgrad degree, MSc Computer Science, the experience was more relaxed, and we would sometimes spend what would seem like hours all talking in his office, right, about certain topics about education and politics and computer science in a whole. And at DCIT staff events, he was famously known as DJ Kali, and he would often give uh, or actually offer us to sing karaoke songs and so on. And so, having completed these courses with Dr. Kalicharan at both MSc and BSc levels, my friends and I actually could surely say that he had a very much a fundamental impact on the computer scientists that we are today. And definitely, we would not be here today without him. And he has molded generations of computer scientists and mathematicians to become great thinkers and problem solvers. So again, from where I started off with, our hope is that his teachings and the programming rigor he strived for could live on and be instilled in the coming generations. So I guess that's pretty much my few words here. So if anybody wants to say a few words as well, you're more than welcome to say.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Rishan.
Yeah, I'd just like to say a little bit as well. So the first time I met Dr. Kalicharan is when I was still in secondary school. At the time, I had a lot of doubts about what I wanted to do, and I'd heard about him before, so I tried asking him for advice. I, I don't remember the details of the conversation or even what I was actually asking, but to this day, I very clearly remember how reassured and understood I felt. That conversation relieved a lot of doubts and helped me decide that comp sci is what I wanted to do. And over the years, there would have been a handful of times where he'd have given like similarly impactful advice. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I know there are many, many people who, even if they may not have been especially close with him or even had the best grades in his class, they at some point would have gotten advice or just learned something from him that would have left a strong imprint on their lives or maybe even led to who they are today. And I think that really says a lot about the impact he had and the kind of person he was. And he'll surely be missed.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll go. Yeah, so similar sentiments. I started off with Dr. Kalicharan in 2000, and at the beginning, it didn't pass anything, but I did pass the final exam. So this kind of shows the transformation that once you stick to the standard that he set, and he's always say this, he believes that he doesn't believe in watering down anything. He believes that you keep the standard where it's supposed to be, and the students would rise to the occasion. And I personally, that happened to me, and I've seen it happen so many other times over the years. So yeah, initially it started off with dread, but eventually you get to respect what he stood for and why. And especially when you go out to work and you see the problems that you face, you realize it's really the problem solving aspect that he strived for that was really your biggest savior, because many a times when you go in the industry, the problems that you face are nothing like what you would have done in assignments and stuff like that in class. So the only way you could be of any use is to be able to sort of dissect the problem and think it through. And that's where all the test cases and stuff like that would have come in. So I think one of his famous lines was, "There's no 99% working program," right? And which is something I think we should continue to strive at the UV to try and imbibe that message again. That you can't get partial marks for stuff because the program either has to work or it doesn't. So, it definitely had a big impact on me and the way I teach and so on. And I'm sure plenty of these other guys. Yeah, he will be.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hi, Prof. Nicholas Shaman Singh here. I'll probably give us 2 minutes.
Sure. Go ahead, Nicholas.
So, hi everyone. I joined late, but I think I joined just in time as well. My experience with Dr. Kalicharan is I guess similar to everybody else, but unique at the same time. The first course I had with Dr. Kalicharan was Come 2000. And coming out from year one program, and I think I was pretty okay. I ready for anything because I passed those exams, and everybody was saying year one programming is the hardest, but nobody really said anything about Come 2000 or anything like that. I remember the first day for the class, we had a spot exam about problem solving, and probably get 2 out of 20 or something like that. And you know, when you look at the average for the class, I think 5 was the highest. So maybe somebody got 10 out of 20. You know, so from the first day, you know, Dr. Kalicharan set the standard like, listen, this class not gonna be just for people to breeze through. You had to pay attention. So, you know, first coursework exam, I think I probably get like 5 out of 35 or something. So you can see a trend happening here, right? The second one, I think I get 3 out of 30. And Dr. Kalicharan, while handing me the paper personally, he was like, oh, Chairman Singh, improve, right? And that's when I realized, you know, Dr. Kalicharan is a guy who like a lot of sarcasm, but he have a very serious way how he does it, you know? So um, I think, so, you know, fast forwarding, I actually failed that course the first time I did it. And it taught me a lot because, you know, come 2000 was something that I thought anybody could do. And, you know, that course humbled me a lot. And it also taught me about, you know, how to think a lot more than what you expect, you know? So, you know, eventually I passed that course, jumping into come 2000, I passed that course as well. But where things really stood with me with Dr. Kalicharan was his impact in terms of wanting to do things for the greater good and not just doing it just because you have to. You know, everything that he did and all the lessons that he taught and even how he taught his lessons in class wasn't just for that, you know, people would pass the exams, but it would be more for about if he said, and I'll quote him here, if you fail his course 12 times, you guarantee each time you fail the course, you learn something new until you pass it. You know, and as much as that's probably a hard pill to swallow that you fail in 12 times, you know, at the same time, he did it with the right intention, you know. He was so impactful that, and I think a lot of the other guys on this call would probably know, we had something called the DCIT runtime, and it was heavily influenced based on how Dr. Kalicharan ran his programming assignments. And at that time, I think I was in year 3, just finishing, I can't remember which one of his courses. Actually, no, we were doing design analysis algorithms the same times that competition was running. So you can imagine that we didn't want to take part in that competition, knowing that, you know, we was going to have to compete against, you know, students who were younger than us, and probably, you know, they would probably beat us. And it's like, you know, this thing was really nerve-wracking because it really did set the bar where it's either, you know, you don't know, you know how to think, and you don't know how to think. But it wasn't from a you know, a looking down perspective. It's really more, well, you know, you really have to set the bar high. But Dr. Kalicharan was majorly influential for me in terms of my lecturing style. Like I like to talk with a lot of sarcasm, and Dr. Kalicharan was good on that. You know, it was a good delivery about making a joke in class, but at the same time being serious. He was also impactful in terms he was very welcoming, you know, walking past him on the corridor, you know, things that he didn't expect him to notice, he would randomly pull a conversation about it. Or, you know, Dr. Kalicharan was so serious, I didn't think he used to watch movies. And a day he was like, Chairman Singh, what movies you have? What was the latest thing all the kids watching? You know, and he was so down to it and simple. And he wasn't like, you know, going from that, but at the same time, he was somebody not afraid to challenge anything with his notorious letters to the editor. And even there were a couple of times, you know, in UE where some new policy came about, and the policy wasn't thing everybody was talking about. Everybody was actually talking about the email Dr. Kalicharan sent in response to that policy, you know, pointing out all the pros and cons and his objective opinion that anybody could take if they wanted or not. But, you know, those were the qualities that he could expect from Dr. Kalicharan, because he was somebody who wasn't afraid to speak his mind for the right or for the greater good. But at the same time, you know, he was somebody welcoming and you know, open to the challenge, because to him, nothing was personal. It was really just about trying to communicate the right things. Hearing about his passing, I saw it from the article on Facebook, and the immediate reaction was, this can't be true. You know, like it was something that, you know, I think I just came home from work, and it was like something that took me throughout the whole weekend to you know, come to terms with, because, you know, like Dr. Kalicharan was just somebody who was there, you know. Anyway, that's my couple minutes on Dr. Kalicharan. He's somebody who influenced me a lot in terms of the person I am today, coming from where I was, you know, improving from getting 5 to 3 in his coursework assignments. But, you know, he was somebody that was very influential. So that's it for me. I'll leave it open for anybody else.
Nick.
Hey, maybe I'll say a couple of things as well.
Sure.
Well, maybe I shouldn't. I think you're heard enough of the exams and the challenges, but I'll talk about it just a little bit more. I remember I had him for my postgrad Galgrams course, and that was so interesting because all of Dr. Kalicharan's boys were there. You know, we had Budu Anderson, Shiva, Matthew, and Inzamam, and it was crazy. And I kind of want to blame Budu. I think Budu kind of made the course harder because he kind of is like, say, well, you know, this assignment real easy and thing now. And he kind of made it worse for all of us, but it was a real interesting experience. Dr. Kalicharan, you know, is always known for challenging us and really um, pushing the limits of what we can do. And he was also impactful in terms of teaching too, because as Shiva said, we were all part-time staff at the time. So he would, you know, depart us some nuggets of wisdom of how to deal with students. And some students with their students would come with a certain attitude, not necessarily coming to learn, but really just want to get that pass or some kind of other entitlement attitudes they may have. And the last time I would have spoken to him would have been really interested when I started full-time lecturing. Was at the same time he was moving out of his office. So he had visited me in my office, and it was real surreal because he's sitting in the visitor chair, I in my chair, and it's like, what kind of weird kind of parallel universe is this? And he was still just, you know, going on about, you know, the standards of education, and that's just something that we really understood his philosophy, because as Shiva said, that preparing them for industry is the whole motivation behind, you know, unwavering, not wavering on that standard of education. And it's something I try to uphold within, you know, the lectures that I have the privilege to run. So much so I kind of make a joke when my pass rate is too high, right? And yeah, he'll be surely be missed. But as I said in other tributes before, when someone has such a great impact on the world as Dr. Kalicharan, you can't really say his influence is gone by no means, right? He still felt, and we talked to when I talk with my friends and colleagues, and I could always look at some of the articles that he's wrote, or even his books. So I'd like to share with everyone here is an album that we put together. And it's cool because we even have videos of Dr. Kalicharan himself, you know, sharing some of his reflections on his time at UE and his life in general with students. And I'm so happy that we did that live, you know, in his last few years. So again, I'd like to extend my heartfelt condolences to the family, friends and colleagues of Dr. Kalicharan. He'll surely be missed, but his influence is certainly not gone. Thanks.
Hello?
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone?
Yeah. So I have a short story.
Sure.
So the first time we took COM 2000 with Dr. Kalicharan, about the end of the course semester, we were pretty much in dire straits. And I think after every class, he say something like, any questions, right? And I think it was me or someone else said, so if we're going to do bad in this course, what could we do next time we do this course? What could we do better? And I think he actually said that we could actually come to Comp 3000 as well if we want to be better in 2000 because it's a similar syllabus. And I was always amazed at how much he, like, after teaching for so many years, how much he knew each individual and each classmate, I guess, student. Because I actually took him up on that offer a few times, and I used to go to Comp 3000, he would remember me. And that was the first time I really appreciated Dr. Kalicharan too, because at the end of the day, he always wanted to help each student. And it was basically up to you to reciprocate as well. So I was always appreciative of him in that regard. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Anybody else? Okay, so I guess we could close the tribute to Dr. Kalicharan. He will be missed dearly. And now we could open it up to any discussion or comments people want to make in general, as we've done in the past, where we discussed different issues, local issues, etc. Unless you have anything else, Shiva, with respect to Dr. Kalicharan.
No. I think that's about it. I just want to make one quick mention. So in the flyer I made here, I have here, these words he is actually his, and he actually, this was actually very resounding to me. He said that, you know, if you're not good at something, it's highly possible, and it's more than likely that you're probably good at something else, right? So you have to find that something that you know that excites you and makes you happy and motivates you, and then dedicate your life to it. So I think that is one thing I'll definitely remember from his retirement function, his speech.